Team, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Another Line War cast. This time we have someone said that my nickname sucks. We're going to refer to them as a nickname from now on for simplicity's sake against Orbnet. This is the absolute top of the ladder right now. We are in for a treat. We see that Orbnet is in the top here as red, and nickname is going to be spawning on the bottom here, kind of bridging these two land masses. We've seen Nickname do this before, and I think it's a very interesting play because if you can actually get control of both sides of these land masses, it's kind of, I don't know. I feel that it's a very interesting way to play. Like there's a bunch of economy that Nickname can get over here on this side of the map because this is wide open fields, and by being able to take this because this is a land bridge over to this part of the map, this is also a bunch of economy. Orbnet starts on this city, kind of. We'll see what the plan is. It's a airfield and a barracks immediately. I guess it's called an airport technically, but you understand what it is. You can see what that looks like. And two barracks from Nickname. So Nickname's going to be looking to kind of quickly cap this part of the map, and then potentially, and I'd expect them to move across to this part of the island to get all of this wide open field territory. Nickname themselves has another barracks on this right side of the map and an airfield themselves, an airport. I'm going to keep saying, I'll call it a starport even for all those StarCraft players out here. Orbnet is getting a dock in the middle, and I really like this play because this is a very important body of water. They wouldn't know that nicknames started down here necessarily, but the beginning of the map and the picking phase, both players kind of were both trying to go here in this area of the map. Since these players are both so good, they might actually have an idea of where the other one would have to go at this point. Just given the geography of the map, and we can see quickly what sort of map we're working with. There's a bunch of oils down here, and then this is the rest of the map, kind of a wide open spot in the north, and Nickname's going to be able to get this south island. So we're kind of splitting the map north to south here. Orb is getting two. We're going to call. I hope Orbnet is fine with us calling them Orb. Orb's getting two factories with some SAMs immediately. I'm not sure if this factory is only making SAMs. It'd be interesting to be able to click on it and see if that's the deal or if it's kind of splitting. But I assume that this is only making SAMs. And Orb's known for their helicopter use. They're a big proponent of the helicopter. If you're in the Discord, you'll likely have seen them talking about how the helicopter is pound for pound the best unit out of the airport. I agree. There is a decent amount of micro skill involved with it. You really don't want to lose the helicopters that you build, and they're fragile against SAMs. But we'll get to see, a very good player use them and see how they're going to be able to make this work. It's actually two SAMs out of these factories. So this is the first game of Orbnets that we've actually watched a replay of. We played them on ladder the other day, and we got walloped, and it was just a blur of panic. So we'll see if is this more. Yeah, so this is artillery now, and there's a power plant for Orbnet because there's no real gas up here, and I guess this is the power of no pun intended, I guess, but the power of power plants is that it allows you to start in a spot that doesn't have a gas, because we know that power plants are less efficient than oil refineries, but in a case like this where there's no gas around, it actually is the play to make. We can see the lines of Orbnet. They've really taken the whole map, and they kind of spread it out immediately, which is very, very cool to watch. It's a fun kind of stylistic choice to see how players start their early games and what they choose to do with their lines. These helicopters are going to get great trades for Orb until Nickname has some anti-air. This factory in the bottom here is making anti-air. The SAMs won't really be out in time to deal with this maybe in a second, but these helicopters are going to go home before that anyway because they need to refuel and reload the guns in the helicopter, I guess. You know what we're trying to say. There's a numbers advantage here for Nickname, so they're going to be able to push back at this point, and we can kind of check the economic development at this point. This is kind of important. So Nickname's at 428, Orb is at 476, so Orb with a slight advantage. It's still small enough that it doesn't fully matter. Strikers in the back airfield for nickname. So I'd assume with the strikers, because we can kind of see the range. We can't see both players in the replay system. We can't really click on nicknames airfields, but we can click on Orbnet's airfields to see how far that strikers would go to this blue line. So you can imagine, given this airfield, just how far out these strikers are going to be able to go. So potentially hit this this dock, which might be what nickname wants to do, although I suspect that these strikers are just kind of going to be used as like all-purpose. You can move them around very easily if you build airfields. Very interested to actually see what nickname has in store for those. We can see what they're building out of their dock. It's a missile boat. No, this is a cruiser, pardon me. So nickname's kind of going for that naval supremacy. Doesn't want to lose this, because this is definitely going to be an important part of the map. If you can get missile boats in this little bay, you're going to be able to cut off a bunch of air. Like, you can imagine these helicopters, if you had missile boats in the center lake thingamajiggy, the helicopters, it's way harder for them to go across as easily. They have to kind of go all the way to the north in order to transition islands. This is really good for nickname because Orb's out of gas for the moment. So these boats that are out of gas, when things are out of gas, they actually take more damage from attacking units. So they really are just kind of sitting ducks in the water. And between 3 strikers and a cruiser, that's definitely going to be cleaned up in the favor of nickname. We can look at the gas income from Orb, because it's really only this one power plant. They're making a second power plant, which is the right call, especially since there is no gas in sight for Orb. Like, there really is no easy gas, and it shows the skill of Orb to be able to play from the north without any easy gases to build. It's not actually like nickname has gases that they can use themselves, to be real, right? We'll check back in what happens in the center there, but like, it's only actually these gases, right? And then this one for nickname. So nickname has this gas in the bottom, which is more defensible than Orbs, and like more accessible, more importantly, than Orbs. And we'll see how the gas comes into play in this game, because it will be big, and it can decide games very quickly. You can imagine you have a bunch of things that need gas and you run out of gas. Well, that changes the complexion of the game entirely. So we can kind of go big picture here. Nickname is getting the south island and kind of pushing up slowly. There's no anti-air specifically on this part of the island for nickname. These strikers, although they are fighter jets, they're not really built to destroy helicopters. They definitely can in the numbers that we have. I mean, 2 helicopters taking against 5 strikers. I'm not actually sure. I think the strikers very likely win that fight, but these helicopters are really going to be able to do a ton here. Yeah, there's 2 more helicopters reinforcing, so this is very big for Orb. I think it kind of gives them control over this island, and they can put more units into this part of the map to try to capture the territory away from nickname. And we've seen how important that is. It's always great to be able to take territory away from your opponent, because not only does it give you more income, it takes away your opponent's income. Kind of going big picture here to watch how 4 helicopters deal with 5 strikers, while also keeping the fight on the left in play. It looks like Orb's going to be able to get a little bit of a force grouped up here. Yeah, this is good for nickname in a sense. See, but these strikers have to go home, and the helicopters get to stay closer to the action. But we'll kind of see how the strikers fight the helicopters over time on that side. We can see that there's about to be 7 artillery pieces grouped up for Orb, which is huge. There's no artillery for nickname, although they do have the SAM. They don't even have the SAM advantage, and it's going to be a question of where you want to use these strikers and where nickname wants to send them, because you could send them over here, but with 4 SAMs, it's not super ideal. I think this is a huge play from nickname, going for the dock. They're slowly running out of gas, and unfortunately for nickname, this one cruiser just popped out like the second these 2 cruisers rolled up. and so the nickname needs to retreat. And in fact, they're gonna lose both cruisers. 4 helicopters make pretty quick work of a cruiser, especially when they are supported by another cruiser. This is just 3 power plants from Orb as their gas income. Orb's following up with a second airport at this point. Interested to see what units they make out of it. They're still making helicopters off of the first airfield and another factory to kind of help push into this wide open field, because they know that Nickname is clearly interested in capping all of this. Orbs moving in the top right, they're getting that uncontested. This center point is looking decent for Orb as they keep things grouped. We have a good healthy mix of SAMs and artillery. And really, I mean, there's a reason why a convergent, composition at this point in the meta is this like artillery SAM. Because it's so hard to deal with. You really have to catch them out of position with their SAMs in order to use air against them. The strikers instead are going right towards this dock. I think this is a good play. I think it is. I think controlling this water is a bigger deal than anyone would, like as big a deal as one would expect, I guess is what we're saying. And unfortunately for Nickname, it doesn't really work out. Just 2 cruisers or whatever, like 1 cruiser, a missile boat, and a SAM is enough to deal with this. These helicopters are still going uncontested because there's just no anti-air. Interceptors from Nickname on the way, so that will ultimately over time be able to deal with this. And the biggest thing that matters in this game right now is the economy, I think. 716 for Orb, 824 for Nickname, so Nickname is ahead. That is very good for them. We can kind of see big picture where Nickname's going. They are getting the South Island pretty uncontested. They're going to run into resistance as they get to this like north little part of it. This one barracks is helping to get more infantry so that Nickname can cap quicker. We'll try to focus on everything here. See, because these interceptors coming out, Orb can now just like hop these planes or these helicopters across. They're kind of getting stuck in a weird spot with these SAMs, but this is enough helicopters that this isn't. They're going to be able to kill these SAMs without losing a single helicopter, I believe. You can imagine if Nickname was able to kill this dock and then have their own missile ships in the center here, this sort of play couldn't happen, kind of like we talked about earlier. This one helicopter looks so sweet, just like drifting. I don't know, that looks super Tokyo Drift. Orb's out of gas again. And I think they just have 3 power plants. This might be a 4th power plant on the way, right? But there's no gas up in the north. Like there's no gas, I think, anywhere for Orb. Like this is their first gas that they've at least like they've hit a territory that even has gas. So losing those helicopters is really not ideal. And now we're kind of seeing how having the center ocean here is beneficial, because these interceptors have to be really careful, especially as more missile boats come out from Orb, come out of the dock. These SAMs just having a field day launching surface-to-air missiles against helicopters on the ground, if you can imagine. A bunch of boats building up for Nickname. They have a good, healthy reserve of gas. Orb is still kind of, dealing with this, having to run what is going to be 4 power plants as their gas income. This is really not good for Nickname, I think. These 4 artillery pieces, once they get here, it's going to help and kind of mount the defense for Nickname. But right now we're listening to the firecrackers of SAMs just going off. Nickname is ecoing, so they definitely feel comfortable holding this position. The ecoing, of course, is a great thing to do once you know that you have enough production to deal with whatever your enemy the enemy is throwing at you. We can see that there's a airfield here for Nickname, which allows this airport to keep building planes, so you don't just get, like, if the airports get full of planes, then they stop producing planes, and that's one of the worst things that can happen, because, like, efficiency wise, you kind of want that airfield to continue producing planes. We'll go big picture here. These interceptors are moving on haste command. You can see how quick they are. I imagine that's haste. I've never seen planes move this quick. I think this is a haste move. And we can see the gas for Nickname. They can afford doing this. These interceptors do look super sweet flying around, but they're running into 3 SAMs, which is pretty much enough to really... Yeah, there you go. Ooh. Nickname's lucky to get that one out of there. Because 3 SAMs against interceptors with a few helicopters, that's going to be enough to not be a great fight for the interceptors. I'm interested to see what's going on the left side of the map. So Nickname's been able to clear out this little, whatever the heck this geographic location would be. Just the kind of connecting part of the map here, which has a decent amount of income. There actually is a decent amount of land on that, so that's good for Nickname. We can check the income again. 968 for Nickname. What did we just see? 776 for Orb. So Nickname is winning the economy battle. We can see if either player is developing economically behind. Nickname we saw did have that city in the bottom. Orb's not taking these cities yet. And there's a dock for Nickname on this right side, which I do really like, actually. Because I think the ocean in this game is going to be more important than one might think. This is definitely a naval battle brewing, and I'm kind of surprised that, no, the Nickname is still building cruisers. We just couldn't see it in Orbnet's view. This is going to be a big push for Nickname on the left side here. This is a decent amount of artillery. We can see it's enough artillery that it totally outnumbers whatever Orb has. And really, I think this is going to be able to push. We see that Nickname's going to the left here. I would have thought that they would push up the island. But maybe this does make sense to make sure that they kind of get this choke. Because once you cut Orb off from this point on the map, then unless Orb gets a dock to kind of swing around it, it's hard for them. Like, they won't be able to move their infantry through this, and then this entire left side of the map becomes Nicknames, and there's 4 gases over here. Like, Orb is still stuck on these 4 power plants, which I can't imagine feel kind of good. This Navy battle becomes big. The missile boats are haste moving. They're kind of running into a bunch of boats. Unfortunately, I think by going this deep, I wonder if the play here is just retreat move to get rid of some of these helicopters. We can see the Nicknames moving the SAMs and the missile boats on the helicopters. We can see what a sort of trade that we get with 4 helicopters stuck between a bunch of SAMs. The question is, for what we're gonna get 4 or 5 helicopters, maybe. Yes, we get 5 helicopters, I think, if I can count. Is that worth it for 4 missile boats and 3 SAMs? I think the answer in some ways is yes, but time will tell if this was fine. Because now there's an entire Navy for Orbnet. And Orbnet must know that that trade was like decent in the Navy for them. They lost all the helicopters, which might actually be a huge problem. This push is going well for Orb. And they have the missile boats to defend it. So if the missile boats kind of push up to protect and like help defend this little army, then maybe Orb can kind of push to these what are about to be 2 airports and do a lot of damage. But we can see like there's this relatively healthy interceptor and, well, there's only 2 strikers, so there's not a healthy amount of strikers. But there are 4 interceptors at this airfield, so which kind of don't matter as much anymore, obviously, because the helicopters are dead. That's what their main purpose was, to kill. I'm interested to see if Orb wants to push up through this ocean. Like, it might be an overextension to do so. The 3 helicopters back for Orb, but these take a while to rebuild, and these SAMs are going to get there to kind of scare these off, I think. I like that the SAMs are on haste move here. I think if you use SAMs in the best way, you generally can haste move them around. Just because if you position the SAMs correct, helicopters won't be hitting the SAMs. It'll be hitting all the other units that they find to attack, you know what I mean? So you can move the SAMs quickly while losing some HP, fatiguing them, but it's more important to get them into a position to shoot than it is to get them there with full health. There is a lot of air for Nickname here, And I'm interested to see what they're going to build out of the second airport, because this is going to be fine. They're going to be able to hold this off. It's going to be kind of ugly. There's another factory here, which I think is a great call to just make sure that this works. And yeah, we heard the machine guns. So Nickname is going for the tried and true signature commandos that they do. This is super bad for Nickname in a lot of ways. I assume that these strikers are gonna be sent to help out the Navy. 2 cruisers against 2 cruisers and 4 missile boats. I'm no RTS expert, but I don't think the numbers there really make sense. We can hear things really popping off. SAMs are just so loud. We have a big battle in the north. We kind of missed this. The Navy for Nickname is screwed, so this is not really ideal, because I think that Orb's going to be able to get the dock and claim naval supremacy there. We can kind of see how this is going for Nickname, getting a little bit spread out here. The artillery of Orb is more grouped together, which is obviously better because they fire all together at once. Yeah, we can see that Orb is probably trying to, yeah, Orb is immediately going to go kill that dockyard, which is the best play that you can possibly make at this time to really get full control over the Navy. They're definitely winning in the left here. This one boat is fighting 3 SAMs and 2 artillery pieces, which is hilarious to think about. That's not great, but these planes are all getting launched. Well, this one particularly is getting launched in the SAMs. Nickname is still going to hold this. They might lose this factory, and in worst case scenario, lose this airfield. We'll see where those commandos are going in a second, but between the strikers and the cruiser here, I guess Orb just kind of, it was unfortunate timing. I thought this was the play for sure, to just run all those boats in to try to get the dockyard. That felt like the play to me. And we can see just like time-wise, and this cruiser that got kind of caught on the artillery, it didn't actually end up working out for them. An economy check is really important at this point. 812 for Orb, and Nickname is steamrolling here with 1,200 income almost. These commandos are obviously huge here. This one infantry of Orb can't see these commandos, of course, because commandos are stealth units. You need a critical mass, or not a critical mass, but you need enough units around them to be able to see them. You know, interceptors have good detection. Destroyers, subs, I believe, are also good detectors. But without them, these commandos are going to be able to, I mean, cap this entire North Island and kind of potentially get on the gas of Orb, which would be huge. This is only striker production for Nickname in these back airfields, which I agree with. I think that's a good play. Orb is ecoing up, which I also think is the play that needs to happen right now, because they're going to be able to defend this part of the map. That's okay. They're not really under any pressure, like their infrastructure is not being pressured here either. With a good grouping, they might actually be able to start pushing this, although Nickname's now got another factory. These infantry and artillery are going to be able to get on this airfield, and that's kind of scary for Nickname. We can kind of go wide picture here. Orbs kind of is grouping a bunch of units at this mountain pass. Which is, it's going to be a pretty scary push, I think. I think the only thing is that economically, Nickname is still super ahead at almost 1,300 income, and Orbnet's at 824. And these commandos, this is great awareness by Orb to see this and now send these helicopters over. They can't quite see the commandos, as you can see. They kind of circle. We'll see if 4 helicopters is enough to start firing. I'm really interested personally. These strikers on the bottom are going to be able to get these infantry of Orbs. So 4 helicopters is enough to spot. None of the infrastructure and production of Nickname goes down there. This is a very scary push from Orb, though. We saw this developing a little bit earlier. This is a decent amount of artillery, but we can see that Nickname's going to meet it. And as long as these strikers are all within range, well within range of this. So Orb's going to have to position the SAMs very, very well. The thing that they have going for them is that there is only 1 SAM for Nickname, so these helicopters are going to be able to be very valuable. I think over time this game favors Nickname still because Nickname is at almost, well, just over 1,300 income and Orbnet's at 900. Orb has the control of this middle ocean, or a lake, or whatever the heck we want to start calling this. But Nickname has 2 docks now, 2 shipyards, so they're going to be able to get a bunch of boats and then push up the ocean here. This is really not great for Nickname. This is going to start becoming a problem. This push is going fine for Nickname. I think this defense goes well. They might lose this factory, although they do have a little garrison of infantry that is running over. So this one infantry, unless it's just attack moved on the factory, which it's not, I think it won't be able to get it. And we can hear that the low gas warning for Orb is going off. I'm interested to see, yeah, so these commandos are doing a great job, and now that Nickname built this dock, they're getting missile boats to kind of protect these commandos, and that is not great for Orb. We can see the economic development of Nickname here. Got a port and 2 cities coming up. There's another port right here that Nickname will be able to build in a second. This is still a big arty sand blob from Orb though, and this is pushing down quite well. Orb smartly retreated the helicopters at this point to kind of support this push thing, but we see that this is fizzled out. This push from Orb is fizzled out. This is really, I think, like the only big thing that Orb has going for them. This helicopter support is a great move by Orb. Did we see a helicopter just kind of like rubber band or something that was wild, just drifting? Sending the helicopters over to the left from Orb is a great play. That's a great aware play because there's no anti-air for Nickname with those infantry. And Nickname's going for the dock. We can see what the command is. It's just actually an attack move kind of on all this production facilities, which I love. The strikers, for the most part, were able to get in here, and now the kind of RNG of where they kind of decide to fly is not ideal because they're flying over 2 missile boats, and the helicopters can, they can chip away at the strikers for sure. This is fine for Nickname, this middle part of the island, and the commandos are going to potentially be able to get up on all of this like very vital infrastructure at this point for Orb, because that's a lot of money. That's their way back into the game income wise, although I think it's probably, yeah, Nickname has 1,500 or whatever we just saw, and Orbnet has 800 income, so that's quite a large discrepancy. Nickname's also sitting on a bunch of money, so they could just always do the, I'm gonna, quote, go all in and just drop like 3 factories or whatever you want. Not here. I said here. This is way too close, as we've learned from Nickname, ironically enough. But the kind of idea remains the same. Now that Nickname has a bunch of income, they can start trading inefficiently. They can start kind of building more production whenever they want. And the position is kind of eroding for Orb, especially since they've lost its top right of the map. Nickname's still making boats down here, still transporting commandos over, which over time will become a big problem for Orb. We can kind of focus on this fight, what goes on. There's a bunch of strikers and a few interceptors against helicopters and SAMs with artillery support from Nickname. This is definitely crumbling for Orb, and this is the only standing army that Orb really has left, because this push will, this will just, Nickname will push up on this right side of the island. I think there's not really much that Orb can do to stop them. As Nickname gets closer to this choke, it'll be harder for them to push through because all of these boats can get involved, and the reinforcements of Orb will be so much quicker to get there. But numbers wise, this is looking really good for Nickname. We can see that this navy, there's 4 cruisers and 3 missile ships as part of this navy, so that severely outguns what Orb has here, and it's mostly because Nickname went for a second shipyard, so they're able to just get so much more. I think with proper grouping and some striker support, it's going to be fine on the left for nickname. It might start looking ugly, but that's not the part of the map that super matters. Nickname's going to be able to start reclaiming this income and this territory from Orb, which is huge. We'll check quickly what the commandos have been able to do. They've been able to kill whatever, I think one of the industries and one power plant, which is actually big. We can check the gas. Both players are gonna move some navies, so they're gonna be running out of gas. We can picture these two battles and just kind of watch for a second. I think on the land, it'll look good for Orb for a little bit, but Nickname will be able to ultimately push that back. And Navy-wise, this is a huge win for Nickname. And finally, with getting full control over this water, I think that's pretty much it. Because even if his Orb's able to push all the way down here, kill the gas, all this infrastructure in the city, they would still be getting, like, on the short end of the income trade, right? We're looking at the income again, Orbnet's just under 800 at this point, and Nickname's over 1600 because they've been able to take all of this land from Orb. These commandos are going to be able to take out everything here. The helicopters are great to send, but it's just not quite enough for Orb. We're about to run, what is this, like a gazillion strikers into 4 SAMs. I think that's the, you know, the imperial unit of measurement for this many strikers, and that's the end of the game. We don't get to see who won the game officially, but I do believe that Nickname probably took this. So that was, I mean, that was wonderful. I enjoyed watching that and casting that. Props to both players. It's always a pleasure to watch, you know, the highest levels of Line War go on. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. I stream Line War, other folks do too, on Twitch, so please go over there, check out the categories, say hi to folks. Please feel free to join the Line War Discord. And a final shout out to Nickname for posting these replays in the Discord. They aren't afraid to post games where they lose too, which I'm super appreciated, because it makes the game so much more interesting to watch when we don't actually know what goes on. This game they were able to pull it off and beat Orb, who is #1 on the ladder right now. So props to both. Have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is for you. I'll see you around. Have fun. GG.